The moment I got home, my roommate whispered, "Just go along with it." The first thing I noticed wasn't the silence. It was the fear in Rachel's eyes. She opened the apartment door only a few inches, reached for my wrist with trembling fingers, and whispered, "Just go along with it." Before I could ask a single question, she forced a nervous smile, pulled me inside, and suddenly our ordinary Tuesday evening became the most unforgettable night of my life. If you believe that kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories that remind us the world still has good people. My name is Nathan, and I lived in a quiet apartment building in Columbus, Ohio. Rachel had been my roommate for nearly 2 years. We weren't related, and we certainly weren't a couple. We were simply two friends trying to survive expensive rent while building our careers. She worked as a pediatric nurse, and I restored old furniture for a small family-owned business. We respected each other's space, laughed over late-night pizza, and somehow became the closest thing either of us had to family after both of us had moved away from our hometowns. When I stepped into the living room that evening, I immediately understood why Rachel had looked so frightened. Sitting politely on our couch were an elderly couple dressed in their Sunday best. Their hopeful smiles disappeared the instant they looked at me. Rachel introduced me with a confidence that sounded rehearsed, telling them I had finally made it home after another long day at work. I realized these were her parents. Months earlier, Rachel had briefly mentioned that she hadn't spoken to them in several years after a painful disagreement. They wanted her to return home after college, but she had chosen to stay in Ohio and pursue nursing. Pride slowly became silence, and silence turned into years without a single visit. Apparently, they had arrived unexpectedly. As dinner began, I quietly followed Rachel's lead. She never asked me to lie outright. Instead, she simply needed someone to make the evening feel safe while old wounds reopened around the table. I watched her mother steal glances at family photographs Rachel kept hidden inside a bookshelf. Her father noticed the framed nursing award hanging near the hallway and stared at it longer than anyone else. His expression wasn't disappointment, it was regret. The conversation remained careful, almost fragile. Every sentence felt like walking across thin ice. Rachel laughed more than usual, but I recognized the exhaustion behind every smile. Years of hurt cannot disappear in a single meal. After dinner, a heavy summer storm knocked out the electricity across our neighborhood. Candles filled the apartment with soft light, and without televisions or phones to distract us, everyone simply sat together. That was when Rachel's father quietly admitted that he had followed every hospital newsletter that mentioned her name. He had clipped newspaper articles whenever she volunteered during medical outreach events. Although he had never reached out, he had secretly celebrated every accomplishment from a distance. Rachel's mother confessed she still baked Rachel's favorite cinnamon bread every Christmas, hoping that maybe one year her daughter would walk through the front door again. Rachel didn't cry immediately. Instead, she asked the question that had lived inside her heart for years. She wondered why they had waited so long. The answer wasn't dramatic, it was painfully human. They had both believed the other needed more time. Pride kept postponing the phone call that should have happened years earlier. Every birthday became harder. Every holiday felt emptier. Eventually, they feared too much time had passed. Listening from the corner of the room, I realized how many families carry invisible walls built from misunderstandings rather than hatred. The lights finally returned just before midnight, but nobody rushed to turn off the candles. Rachel slowly crossed the room and hugged her parents without saying another word. Sometimes forgiveness begins before words are ready. The next morning, I woke to the smell of fresh cinnamon bread filling the apartment. Rachel's mother was quietly baking in our tiny kitchen, while her father repaired a loose cabinet door I had ignored for months. They weren't trying to erase the past, they were simply choosing to begin again. Over the following weeks, the apartment changed in unexpected ways. Sunday dinners became a tradition. Rachel smiled more easily. Her parents became regular visitors, bringing homemade meals, family stories, and laughter that had been missing for far too long. Even I found myself becoming part of their growing circle, welcomed not because I had done anything extraordinary, but because I had chosen kindness during one difficult evening. Years later, when people ask me about the greatest restoration project I have ever witnessed, I don't think about antique furniture or broken wood. I think about one whispered sentence at an apartment door. I think about frightened eyes asking for trust. Most of all, I think about a family discovering that love doesn't disappear just because silence lasts a long time. Sometimes it waits patiently for someone brave enough to open the door. Before this story comes to an end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a moment when forgiveness, compassion, or a second chance changed your life or changed someone else's. Your story might become the encouragement another viewer desperately needs today. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone you care about, and subscribing for more uplifting stories. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to heal a heart, restore a family, and remind us that hope is never truly lost when people choose love over pride.